Hey guys, welcome back. It's your brother in Christ, Weston. Thanks for joining me today. So today's article comes out of the most important news. Let's get into it. Hey, you're gonna hear my son in the background possibly reading. It says here, is Israel going to try and end the current regime in Iran or Iran, however you'd like to say it? It says here, most people in the Western world have no idea how serious the situation in the Middle East has become. And I would say that's probably true. Um, I've been using the word existential to describe this conflict because ultimately this is a war for all the marbles. Yikes, that does sound terrible. Um, both sides are willing to do whatever it takes to win, and both sides are absolutely determined to utterly crush, I'm sure he said, crush their enemies. Needless to say, Iran has been promising to wipe Israel off the map for a long time. That's true. I've heard that plenty of times. And now some Israeli politicians are openly talking about the regime change in Iran. At this moment, Naftali Bennett is the most popular politician in Israel. If an election were held today, he would be the next prime minister. So the fact that he just said that Israel should topple Iran's regime ASAP is very noteworthy. And it is, my goodness. And I want to be very clear about our goal, Bennett said. Our goal is to topple, or should be to topple Iran's regime. That's what we need to do. We need to topple Iran's regime ASAP. Certainly before they acquire nuclear weapons. I mean, if that's your enemy, you got nukes and you don't have them, you better take care of them because that nuke will take care of everybody. Like that. We've talked about that very clearly. Very clearly, war is often like the big ticket winner, your most probably outside of like a biochemical weapon or something like that, a nuke will be your final boss, where it will what you couldn't achieve with guns, airstrikes, men on the ground, tanks, airplanes, you will achieve with a nuke. That's a guarantee. Do you realize what it would take to achieve this? I do not believe that Israel would be able to end the current regime in Iran using conventional weapons. I haven't read this article, by the way. I always do these things live, so I can just read them off the rip. One take that I do with this, and we just talk about it. And it says, of course, once the Iranians are able to produce their own nuclear weapons, they won't hesitate to use them if push comes to shove. You're gone. It's little bitty, dot on the map that everybody wants to take over, right? Surrounded by enemies at this point. And a nuke, yeah, that's bad news. Bad news bears for sure. There has been lots of speculation in recent days that the Israelis could strike Iran's nuclear facilities very soon. You should do that. That should be the move if you're going to do it. Donald Trump just endorsed such a move, criticizing the current administration's statement at the G7 conference that Israel should refrain from striking Iran's nuclear facilities. Former President Republican candidate Donald Trump said Israel should hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. At a campaign rally in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Trump ridiculed Biden, the current admin's early remarks by saying, as long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff, that's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think it's got that one wrong. Isn't that what you're supposed to hit? As if I'm fighting another nation, I'm trying to cripple the most critical assets that they have to make it easier for me to win the fight. That's very clear. He added that the nuclear weapons are the biggest threat we have. Trump said his answer should have been hit the nuclear first, worry about the rest later. I've never heard Trump talk like this before. Once Israel strikes Iran's nuclear facilities, there will be an all-out war between Israel and Iran. And that could come a lot sooner than most people think, which I think so. Because now they're getting fed up with each other, like fed up to, like, more than just fed up, more than like coming down on parachutes. And mind you, that was a year ago when that happened. I can't believe that. It feels like that was this year, but it was a year ago when they came parachuting down. That feels like it was yesterday. My goodness, that when that atrocity happened, when you're at people at a festival as well, they were, obviously, you saw like paragliders come down, and then they start taking people. They are pillaging and doing RAPE to people, right? And tying them up and doing that and taking them off. And it's It's bad. It's bad. Saturday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made it very clear that Iran's recent missile attack will not go unanswered. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday repeated his promise to strike back against Iran for its ballistic missile attack earlier this week, saying Israel has an obligation to retaliate and will do so, and you should. Like, there's no way that you can take that as a nation and not fight back. You have to. It's like a bully. Like you cannot be bullied when it's nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famines, pestilence, earthquakes. Like, you have to defend your family, you have to defend your nation, you have to defend your home. I would do the same thing. It wouldn't matter who you were. If you are trying to somehow take over my ground or the place where I live at, and this house of mine and my car and all these other things that I'm responsible for, your adversary is me, and you're going to have to get past me. And it's a do or die situation, because I'm sure if you're making attempts like that, your intention is to unalive me and everybody else in here. So the only way to fight back at this point is to use the same intention or the same attack or the same way to disarm that person's intention before having to take it to that level of, okay, it's me versus you. You know, it's a do or die. It's a do or die situation. Speaking from Kira military headquarters in Tel Aviv, Netanyahu said no country in the world would accept such an attack on cities and citizens, and Israel won't either. Israel has the duty and the right to defend itself and respond to these attacks, and will do so. According to J-Post, the IDF is hoping that the military response that is being formulated will not spark an uncontrollable chain of events. IDF plans to respond significantly, but has not detailed the nature of that response. The IDF noted that Iranians launched 201 missiles from Iran to Israel, some of which impacted targets. Consequently, there is a broad recommendation within the IDF to respond to Iranian attack with minimizing risks and maximizing opportunities. I don't see this anymore. I agree. The Iranians have already said that there will also be an enormous response to Israeli attack on Iranian soil. I think that we are getting very close to the final showdown between these two nations. Meanwhile, Hezbollah just continued to pound northern Israel. On Saturday evening, 130, I didn't even know that, 130 missiles were fired at Israeli targets. Heavy fighting between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah militia in Lebanon characterized the front on Saturday evening, with Hezbollah firing 130 missiles into Israel and Israel continuing to attack Lebanon. In response, the IDF absolutely pummeled Beirut on Sunday. Israeli airstrikes continue to hammer Beirut through the overnight hours and into Sunday, with the Israel Defense Force calling them pinpoint attacks, but which left Lebanese civilians in the capital at a state of panic. And I would be in panic as well, knowing that this is happening. A lot of people there don't seem to get it, and we don't, because we live in a bubble. I've mentioned it before. America feels like we are on an island and nobody's going to come fight us, so we just continue to do whatever we want and talk about and live lavishly or luxuriously, in the sense of no panic, no fear about other nations. If anything, we're infighting, versus people actually saying, you know, death to the West, and somebody truly saying, doesn't matter if you're red or blue or whatever your political party or whatever your color, you're not us, and that's it. If you are American, you're an enemy. That's all. We've been witnessing escalation after escalation. I'm entirely convinced that the biggest escalations are all right around the corner. I believe it, dude. I just realized that it's obviously about to be the middle of October, November, December, and an election is in a month. It's right there. It's I don't know if even Trump's gonna make it. I don't know if Israel and World War III is not gonna break out this week. It's the 1 year anniversary of this as well. It's pretty crazy. As I've been consistently warning, there will eventually become the biggest war in the Middle East. Right. From now on, both sides are not showing all their cards. When the chips are down, neither side is going to pull any punches. I wouldn't either. If I was an enemy, or if I was, good guys or bad guys, I wouldn't pull any punches. If Iran's nuclear facilities are targeted, if either side decides to use unconventional weapons, I told you about like biochemical weapons, stuff like that, chemical weapons, stuff that's sound type weapons. Man, it's pretty scary stuff. EMPs, stuff like that. Go watch that movie. I watched it first of the year last year, or was it this year? It was by the Obamas. The Obamas that own the studio. The World Ends Tomorrow, or Nowhere World, whatever. It's something like that. Just go look it up. Obama produced movie, The World Ends Tomorrow, or something like that. It was talking about America being attacked, and they were. All facilities are knocked out, and there is propaganda about who's actually attacking them. Some thinks it's the Russians, some think it's Koreans, some thinks it's China. Um, what is it? And Iranians, and they're throwing, like, it's funny how there's it's not funny, but it's like propaganda that they're like, okay, hey, one sees this helicopter that drops all these papers that show like a piece of like propaganda, like death to the West, but in one language it looks like it's one nation, and then somebody's like, no, that's not it, I have intel, it's this nation. And they're watching as they're being attacked, and pretty much it's a great movie. And it will prick your heart and be like, something's happening, and could be very real. And people who are on the suburbs or on the outside of the city were watching, I forgot what city it was, being destroyed, and it was bad. There will be no possible way for us to avoid an all-out war in the Middle East, right? If Iran's nuclear cities are targeted and either side decides to use unconventional weapons, there will be no possible way for war to be avoided, and for us not to be involved in it, guaranteed. So, and that's where I believe we step into Matthew 24, 25, Luke 21, Mark 13, Daniel 8, Daniel 9, Ezekiel, Gog, Magog. We're talking about Revelation 6 through 17, 18, something like that. I'm talking about like end time stuff, supernatural stuff, antichrist stuff, one world system, one world currency, one world religion, one world ruler, a beast system, and we're talking about rapture. We're talking about supernatural entities showing up. We're talking about global worship. Man, and you've seen me make a video on this, thinking that even that the Antichrist might be is it the Dajjal, or is that the Dajjal, I think, is in Islam, our Christ, and they think that it's the bad guy. I forgot what it is. I have to look at it, but anyway, all that to say, there's a lot going on. There's a lot, and we're not feeling it. And I made a video on this a long time ago saying, an article that we read said that if America would feel it, it would be like the last to feel the weight of the pressures of the world. And I was like, ding, 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 because there's something, and that's weird, because we're such a superpower that we would feel the last of it. It would make us feel like we're the ones instigating it, because how would we feel the last of it if everyone else is feeling it first, second, and or third, fourth, fifth, sixth? You know what I'm saying? Feels like we play a bigger role in what's happening. So anyways, that's the video, guys. If you liked the video, be sure to like the video. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. It really helps me out. Super grateful for you. Thank you for stopping by, giving me your time. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.